Before we begin our meeting, we would like to acknowledge that Stewie actors in the Mi'kmaq, the ancestral unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. In attendance, we are all present. Are there any changes to the agenda? If there's no changes, could I call for a motion for the agenda as is?
I'll make that motion that we accept the agenda for our council session for December the 19th, 2024.
Do I have a seconder?
Second it.
Thank you. There are no disclosures of interest.
If we talk about Legion and levies, I'll have to excuse myself.
Yeah, it's actually in the agenda if you have a look, and I don't.
Yeah, I know it's there, but as long as you don't mention the word Legion.
No problem. Are there any disclosures of any interest other than that? Okay, perfect.
We need to vote on this motion for the agenda, though. We do.
To approve the agenda?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We made the motion, but I don't remember. I didn't vote on it.
Oh.
Oh, sorry, all in favor?
Sorry.
Sorry, Terry. The approval of minutes. We'll now move on to the minutes from the last two meetings, November 14th and the 21st. Were there any questions in regards to the minutes?
The only change I had was for the November the 21st minutes.
Okay.
And it's under the motion would be, I don't know what page this is. Under the New Year's levy discussion, the first, there was no seconder for the motion to hold the levy at the community center. So it should actually state motion not considered, not motion defeated, because you need a seconder.
I'm making note of that now. Okay. Noted. We had no announcements or proclamations. We had no requests for presentations. We had no written or corresponded petitions. We'll now move on to the regular business portion of the agenda. I will hand it over to our CAO for the CAO report and the council code of conduct.
Okay, thank you, Your Worship. The CAO report. First update for council and residents is the paving of Main Street. We were at the November meeting, we did award the contract to Real Care Paving. Unfortunately, we can't have two contractors on site because of liability reasons. The timelines for finishing up the Riverside project, getting Dexter's offsite was not, friendly to our schedule to get the paving of Main Street complete, and the asphalt plants are closing for the season. So just a couple of updates. One, we have confirmed that Will Care will hold our pricing by the spring. They will be out of the gate, one of the first projects to be completed in the spring. And we're going to schedule for that early in the new year. So we will be on that. The staff will report back to council. A community development update, the Dennis Park Playground project, just for the residents and council's information, the playground equipment is complete. I think it was in June that the contract was awarded by council to Colquitt Trail Consulting. That was May 28th. The construction is complete. Pictures are enclosed, and if residents want to check out the playground equipment at Dennis Park is ready to use. Our community development team are working on the municipal physical activity strategy. We have a stakeholder engagement session held on December 15th with 16 attendees from local organizations. We're continuing to work on our regional accessibility strategy, progressing well. There's a community engagement held throughout the region on December 5th and 8th. Left turn, right turn was in Stewiacke, which is our consultants running the project, on December 7th at the breakfast with Santa, with a final report to come to council for completion in March. A few other updates, the Stewiacke Minor Ball Association total donations for the Christmas Daddies this year was 13,306.39. The donation was fundraised by Jeff Turple and his team of volunteers, players, families in the community. That's great news for the area. And it raised money, it goes back to the Shumilaki Food Bank, Salvation Army, etc. So it's going back into the community. Stewiacke celebrates Christmas, was a big success. The Breakfast of Santa had over 150 people. Footwear donations, we received 41 pairs of shoes and boots for the food bank. Stewiacke Fire delivered 682 pounds of food to the food bank after the food drive at Foodland. 250 people attended Christmas Carnival at the Community Center. Stewiacke Community Meals served 130 meals. There were 18 entries in the Festival Lights Parade. And the tree lighting had over 100 people attend. So lots of great community involvement, and the spirit of the season was showing great in the community over the last month. We noted the parade winners. I think anyone who was at the parade, everybody was a winner. There's lots of great floats. It was a great night. It was really cold, but thank you to the supporters and the volunteers that were out. It was a great idea. There are many people to note. They were thanked by Mayor and Council at the tree lighting, and they're noted in the report. So thank you very much to everybody that attended. Just a reminder to council and the public that town hall will close for the holidays. We will close on December 24th at noon and reopen on Thursday, January the 2nd. Any issues we monitored on the overnight or emergency line, moving on the contact us page on the town hall site. The notice is posted on our website, and it'll be on Facebook as well.
So for the CAO's report, could I get a motion, please?
I'll move it.
David first, could I get a seconder, please?
Second.
Second. Second portion is the Riverside report. Oh, pardon me, all in favor? Carried.
My apologies, who was the second on that?
I was.
David again. It was carried. Now we'll move on to the Riverside report.
Thank you, Your Worship. Okay, so Riverside Avenue project closeout report, just reporting to council and the public that the Riverside project is now complete. In terms of the origin, we were doing infrastructure improvements on Riverside Avenue, water, wastewater, road and sidewalk upgrades along Riverside Avenue. For the background, the meeting of council Thursday, July 20th, 2023. Council resolved to approve the acceptance of the bid for Dexter's Construction to complete the project. We also noted that the town does not have an engineer on staff to oversee such projects, so WSP Engineering was retained by the town in April of 2024 to fill the role as project manager and oversight of the work on the project. We're reporting that the work has been successfully completed, not without a few hiccups along the way, which is normal with any construction project. But it's been completed and all the deficiencies are being wrapped up now. In terms of the rest of the report, the project was awarded to Dexter's in the amount of $6.35 million, including all change orders, which were valued at $486,425.05. The total value of the project completion is reported in at $6.836,725.60, which is 6.3% over the original forecasted construction budget. In terms of, overall averages for projects like this, it's well within the norm to be over approximately 10% when you have unexpected things that you come up along the way along the project. In our case, structures underneath the roadways that we can't tell during engineering, sub bases needs replacement. We had some asbestos pipe removals, removal of unstable fills and things like that, and the change orders along the way got us to the overall financials that you see in front of you for the report. In terms of the overall financials, Dexter had the contract. The provincial share of the funding was $2,069,333,000. The federal share was agreed to at $483,200. With the project total, that would leave the town cost for the project at $2.2 million, $84,192.60. The federal and provincial share reportings have all been completed and submitted to the province. We don't see any issues with any of the funding coming through. And with that, that is my project closeout report on Riverside. Are there any questions?
On the Riverside report, could I call for a motion to approve the agenda?
To approve the report?
Pardon me.
Sorry,
to
Mark,
approve
can I
the
ask one
report.
question?
You certainly got.
Does the 2.284 that the town's cost include the 255,000 for the WSP engineer?
No, 255,000 is in addition to that.
In addition
Yes.
to?
So then I have a question. So if that's the case, then was there a boring resolution already made?
Was there a,
Boring resolution made for us, like through, because if the boring resolution was only for the 6.3, do we need a new one?
not to my knowledge, no.
Okay. And so have we put any safeguards in place so that when we do contracts from now on or tenders from now on, that we put in a contingency in place if we,
Yes, so
Change
going
that
forward,
process?
I'm not sure, I was not here during the actual project
right,
initiation or completion. I got here sort of halfway through the project. Generally, when I approach council to structure projects like this, we will put a construction value in. We will put a contingency value of 10 to 15%, whatever we feel is appropriate based on the project and also a project management budget line in there as well. I don't believe that was structured in this manner. I think it was different projects on different budget lines. But when we go forward, we'll add for council's clarity exactly what the requirements are for the project.
and the 255 you said was approved in April 2024?
It was approved in 2024 of April, yes.
Okay,
And to confirm too, this project did go out to tender, right?
So the project did go to tender. The information I have is it went to tender. There were no bids
And
on
zero
it.
bids. correct.
There are provisions within the purchasing policy that allow for special circumstances, and we can get bids in. I'm not sure that process worked.
Right.
But
But it was
council did have a
advertised as
meeting
tender.
with staff, public meeting. The bid from Dexter's was reviewed and council resolved to award the contract to Dexter's.
Right, I just wanted it on the record that we did put it out to tender and had zero interest in it at that time.
Any more questions?
with that, I will move the acceptance of the Riverside project closeout report.
And first to that, do I have a seconder?
I can second it.
All in favor? Carried. Now we'll move on to the next report being the recycling services.
Okay, so the next report is regarding the recycling program. Recommendation in front of us is that the circular material for recycling report be received. And that council authorize staff to provide clear written intent to opt into the program by the deadline of January 31st, 2025. And that staff report back to council with further information and details on proposed agreement for council to consider for final decision before April 18th, 2025. The Origin Nova Scotia is taking steps towards implementing extended producer responsibility program for packaging, paper products, and other blue bag materials. Regulations were released in August of 2023 with an implementation date set for December 1st, 2025. On page 3 of the report, you'll see community collection agreement next steps. The information on this is coming sort of very fast and furious. We don't have all of the information. That's why the resolution is written as such. We are At the second gate, and the first gate was for staff to initially, and this happened early on the spring, to just approve our intent to be part of the consultation process along the way. So that consultation process is still underway. Information is still coming in. Now our next step is to provide written intent to the program that we will entertain being involved in the next step, which will be provided, we'll be provided a written agreement to review from the program. The partners in the program, let's say Walmart, Canadian Tire, things like that, they're starting to retain fraction of a penny or some sort of fee from each producer for packaging. And then that packaging fund goes to the circular materials group, who pays for the recycling program through those funds recouped. Very similar to if anybody has done an environmental recycling fee on any purchase of consumer electronics, you pay for a recycling fee, which goes to EPRA, the Electronic Recycling Group, and then they pay for the recycling program, make sure everything's done properly. That's how this is being set up now with consumer packaging. So our intent now is to, our step now is just to provide written intent to go to that next stage to gather the information, come back to council, have a conversation and see what the agreement would be. My understanding is they'd be providing us an agreement where they'd be funding us to pick up the materials. I'm not sure what that fund looks like yet, but we'll have that report probably back to council in, early winter or late winter, early spring, I would think, to have that conversation. Happy to take any questions.
I have a couple of questions. One you kind of touched on. So will it still be Regroup that picks up our recycling?
Great question. So, under our contract right now, Regroup picks up our waste, our recycling and our organics. Knowing that this regulation was being put in place, there is a out clause in our contract for recycling provisions. So we, as a municipality, once we have that agreement back, if we decide to go forward, the recycling portion would need to be looked at. Then circular materials, they would contract a provider to do the pickup on our behalf. It may be Regroup, I'm not sure. I'm not sure the parameters of the contract or what they're looking at, but we would be basically removing that from our waste collection.
So with that being said, if that is the case, we just negotiated a new contract and it was substantially higher and was a substantial increased cost to our taxpayers. If we get paid or for this material, this recycling material, then will that reduce the burden on our taxpayer?
I'll be cautious in my statement, say it could. I don't know what the agreement's going to look like yet.
Right.
The potential for compensation is there from the groups to pick up recycling. Our contract is in place until October 31st of 2028. So once we know what's coming back from circular materials, we can have that contract conversation with our pickup provider and pass along any savings to the taxpayers if they're there. Our hope is it would be there, but because you're basically paying for it twice. The consumer is paying for a recycling fee when they purchase consumer goods. So that, should fund the program.
Any savings that we can do for our taxpayer? I'm all for.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Can I get a motion to approve the recycling report?
I'll make that motion that we approve the recycling services report.
And can I get a seconder, please? We will now move on to pardon me, all in favor?
Aye.
Very great. All right. We'll now move on to planning services.
Did you want another motion? Did you want that other motion? Because all I did was accept the report. Did you want the other motion that says that you can entertain?
Well, accepting the report, accept all the recommendations within the report.
Do you want that motion though, where it authorizes you?
We, in the second portion of the recommendation, that council authorizes staff to provide clear written intent to opt into the program.
Right, do you want that motion?
That is, the recommendations would be included in the motion.
Not in the motion, the motion is only to accept the report. So,
The motion, okay, so we should clarify that.
yeah, so
When
I'll
we-
make that motion.
Yeah, when we do motions, it should approve all recommendations within the report. So if you wanna go back
Yeah.
and do a second.
I'll
motion
make
on
that motion, I'll make it all. That council authorized staff to provide clear written intent to opt into the program by the deadline of January 31st, 2025, and that staff report back to council with further information and details on the proposed agreement for council to consider for final decision before April 18th, 2025.
Do I have a seconder for that? David? Thank you. Thank you, Karen. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Now we can move on to the next portion, being the planning service from the town of Truro.
One to catch up on those.
Yes. Notes.
Okay, the next report, we're gonna talk about town planning services. The recommendation, and for the motion, I'll include all portions of the recommendations. It's the motion that the report, town planning services be received and that the mayor and CAO be authorized to execute a contract for planning services with the town of Truro in accordance with the details in this report. So in terms of the report, Stewiacke is experiencing the growth that we're expecting, seeing or to see in a community that's close to Halifax, we're experiencing urban sprawl coming out to the neighboring communities. East Hants is seeing it, we're seeing it in Truro, we're definitely seeing it in Stewiacke. In terms of our municipal services, the town of Stewiacke, our staffing contingent is very small. The need does not yet warrant full-time staff in many areas, so what we're trying to do is to fill the human resource requirements that we need to do planning and development properly, but not put the burden on the taxpayers in terms of looking at full-time resources at town hall that are just not required. So the process began early in 2024, prior to me being here. The town endorsed an agreement with the town of Truro for planning services to fill a void of staffing resources by subcontracting for part-time services. The initial agreement was required to be revisited and presented to council for future direction. That's why we're here this evening. I've had the time to review the development process, what's happening in town, what's going on with our staff and the needs from the staffing level to proceed. Previous agreement, our development officer position was held by Jason Fox, who's the director of planning and development of the town of Truro. The town of Stewiacke, we've identified some gaps in our planning and building HR components. This includes building inspection, fire inspection, dangerous and unsightly premises administration, development officer services. We've identified the gaps and we've identified a few more along the way. This would include GIS mapping services, which provide updates to our zoning maps, provide clear and defined mapping of our infrastructure in town, underground piping, things like that. We don't have anybody on staff that can do that. We don't have the administrative support that includes the intake of development applications, rezoning, planning approval applications for subdivision approval. Our neighbors, including Truro, Colchester, they have digitized systems to make everything look more efficient in terms of processing, tracking, things like that. We just don't have that, and we don't have need yet to spend the money on that services, and that's why we're here today to talk about, continuing that relationship. In conversations with Truro, we believe we can provide those services at the equivalent of 10% of the town of Truro's planning and building inspection budget. What that means for us under the new agreement would be, if approved, that all services currently offered, including building inspection, fire services, dangerous and unsightly premises administration, development officer services, which includes development permits, subdivision approval, development inquiries. We would be provided through Truro a dedicated staff person, a planner, that would primarily responsible for Stewiacke. They're in the process of hiring a full-time planner right now. That planner would be ours, under the agreement for 1 to 2 days a week that we need them. They would handle all of our land use planning, administration of land use bylaws, municipal planning strategy, subdivision bylaw. This would include attendance at planning advisory committee meetings, council meetings as required, responding to zoning inquiries, land development advice, would provide us with GIS and mapping services. There's the potential to include web-based services through the town's current contract with Esri, so we can provide some information online, where residents are looking for information on development. And they'd be able to provide the administrative support that we don't have here at the office. They've got a staff person that handles this, make the process a lot easier, trackable, much more efficient for us. So the things that would not be included, we still would not have bylaw enforcement. Mileage is something that is an extra on the contract to get the staff to and from Stewiacke when required. That was in the original agreement. And plan review services. Plan review services is something that our policy committee can look at. We can look at potentially creating a development charge that can offset that cost as well. So we can start having those conversations to get the services we need and put the cost on the consumer that's requiring the service. So in terms of the overall service cost, the cost would be approximately 80,000, or would be 80,000 plus additional expenses, which would be mileage, plan review services, which I said we could look at development charge to offset that cost. It would require council to approve acceptance and adoption for the 2025-26 budget now, so that we can proceed with this program as of January 1st. I will note, we have had a part-time planner on staff, Grant Cook, who will be retiring. So that position will be eliminated and replaced under this contract. So that's my report. Happy to take any questions from council.
Thank you. Do we have any questions?
Just one question about the last sentence you say requires budget approval. You're just talking about this expenditure though, correct?
Just this expenditure,
Okay.
yes. Yes, just for the value of the contract. Generally, we would put this in the budget and ask you to consider overall part of the budget, start April 1st.
Mhm.
We need the contract to start January 1st and run through December 31st, so we're offsetting it by 3 months. So we're just asking for approval and put the budget line in.
With that, I'll make that motion that the report for the town planning services be received and that the mayor and CAO be authorized to execute a contract for planning services with the town of Truro in accordance with the details in the report.
Do we have a seconder? All in favor?
Right.
Carried. Thank you. So now we're moving on to reports. The first is town lighting. Now, that, I've actually taken that one. What I'm hoping that we're able to do, and I've had Mark contact Nova Scotia Power. We are dark. We should have a light on every second lamp post, which Nova Scotia Power will be coming out and installing to bring us up to code or to what we should be, because our town is dark. If there's any areas that you guys know or anybody has talked to you about that is a little on the dark side, we would like to know. because we really do, for public safety, wanna bring the lighting up in our town. That being said, I have also asked, Mark if he could price what it would cost, because there would be a cost to us to put a light on every pole going down Main Street West, coming into our downtown core, to try to lighten up things to attract people into our downtown. Right now, when you're coming in Main Street, it is so dark coming into the town, you don't even know that we have a downtown, it's so dark. So that was one of my thoughts, for that, which again has a lot to do with the public safety. I have also mentioned, I know it's a little bit off topic, to see what it potentially may cost for us to have, traffic lights put in on Highway 2 and Main Street, to try to alleviate some of the traffic that's coming down there, because if between 4 and 6 o'clock, there are cars lined coming into town, whether they're turning left to go to Brookfield, or if they're turning right to go to Shuby, they're lined up past Subway. You know, I don't know if that's something that we should look at, but we have to try to move our traffic a little bit better along that route. That's pretty much it for me in regards to the lighting. Again, the big thing is, it's all about public safety.
So I have a couple of questions.
Yes, please.
You said, is there a cost for every second? light pole?
No, there shouldn't be.
So, we've got clarification. So in new developments, there's a requirement on every second post
Right,
that we put a street lamp up. Nova Scotia Power, puts the post or the light up at their cost. We then pay a fee for that light into our hydro bill each month.
For the electricity.
so
the more
there is
lights
a
we
cost
add,
to the
There
town,
is a cost per light that we pay.
so that's a budgetary item, so we need to look at that through the
Correct.
budget.
Yes,
Okay, as far as the traffic lights go, I think that would need to come through the PAC.
yeah, it's just, like I said, I was just, I may have been off topic, we can bring that through PAC.
Yeah.
It was just something that, I've been taking notes, because I've been driving around at night and just looking at things and the congestion and trying to make it better and safer for our community and the people in it.
I agree, it needs to be safer, but it needs to go through the committee that should do that.
And if I could, I believe the intersection that you were speaking of might be under provincial control, so we might have to write through the province to request.
It
that
is,
be looked at.
it
It
is,
is, yeah.
we've looked at it many
We've
times.
had this conversation. Not necessarily there's been roundabout talks, there's been lights, there's been, I believe, last, to my understanding, is that we needed to provide a more recent traffic study
Okay,
to TIR, because last time we did, they deemed traffic was not high enough to
okay,
consider doing anything. And I agree, because I drive through that intersection every day during rush hour, and it is busy and it is dangerous, and I think we should look at a budget item to have a traffic study done, if that's what they're requiring to move forward in some capacity.
yeah, it's, I think it's a mess, you
It
know?
is.
And especially if the people are coming across into town, you know, and somebody's turning left to go to the brook. It is just so congested there, and I'm surprised we don't have more accidents than.
Doesn't matter what time of day, I was out to get gas around lunchtime today, and it's the same thing, doesn't matter what time of day. And people don't know who has the right of way for some reason, like, so, I mean, but again, I think that all is supposed to go through planning advisory, so.
Perfect. I'll put that on their agenda. All right, we'll move on to,
Leads us into planning advisory.
we'll move on to, Pam's update for the, planning advisory committee.
So we do have a meeting scheduled for January the 8th. All members have been notified, regarding that meeting. Out of, that will come some public consultation, traffic lights. And I mean, we also have to do, as I think most people understand, the municipal planning strategy is way out of date. All of this that we talk about as far as public safety, it needs to be in our municipal planning strategy as well. So I'm really excited about getting things rolling and building what we need and actually my biggest thing is engaging the public and getting them to come out and tell us what their vision is for Stewiacke and what they wanna see.
I agree.
So I'm really looking forward to, having a meeting on January the 8th and get going as soon as we can.
Any questions? We'll move right on then to the bylaw and policies. We've received none. Do we have any citizens' comments?
There were none received, and at the time of the meeting, I look in the chat, there's 5 people online. I'm seeing no comments in the chat.
No comments. Perfect. Then we'll move on. Back to me. It's been a busy month. I have attended many meetings and I think I've grown in the capacity of the role that I'm in. I'd like to thank yourself for attending the meeting in New Glasgow. There's one change that we're gonna make come in the new year. Our deputy mayor will chair our committee of the whole meetings, and I will chair the council. That will give me an opportunity to have a voice at the table as well. And other than that, I just want to wish everybody out there a happy holiday season to some, and to others, a very Merry Christmas. Now we'll pass it on to the councilors. Anything from you, Rebecca?
I'd like to thank Aaron and Ben and the recreation staff, for Christmas in Stewiacke. I think it was great. We had a good time
Awesome.
in the parade, despite it being bitterly cold. I think it went over well. Aside from that, happy holidays and Merry Christmas, and we'll see everyone in the new year.
Thank you.
I have, it seems like it's been a whirlwind, but it's been great. We held our first business and tourism meeting and I thank the mayor for attending as well as the CAO. It was well attended. The discussion was very enlightening and we had great discussion and we're moving forward on the strategic plan for business and tourism and engaging them more with the community as well as council. Also attended the rules training with the mayor and Councillor LeBlanc, as well as attended the Nova Scotia Federation meetings in Halifax with CAO and the mayor and Councillor LeBlanc. Christmas in Stewiacke was amazing, cold, but the vibe was electrifying. It was great to have Deputy Mayor Roger Slang's daughter with us, brought that youth with us. As well as I also had a meeting with our CAO and finance manager regarding the audit committee. And we'll be having a meeting in January with that as well. So at the end, I just want to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas and all the best for 2025. And where it's going to be a busy year, I think.
Thank you so much.
Yes, my wife and I attended Christmas in Stewiacke. Quite taken by a couple of the floats, to say the very least. Certainly were stellar pieces of work. Stayed around for the Christmas tree lighting and had some apple cider, warm apple cider. So we participated in that. And as Councillor Osborne has pointed out, I attended the Nova Scotia Municipalities meeting in November. Attended a board meeting at the Colchester East Thames Public Library in December. Workshop on the rules of order meeting processes in December as well. So kind of getting out and seeing some things like that. And in the tradition of the British, have a happy Christmas and a lovely New Year. The Queen always used the word happy.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I attended the EMO training in Truro and also the rules of order training in New Glasgow. And I also want to say happy holidays. I use happy too.
Wow, there you go.
Very people, but happy holidays.
Wonderful. Thank you, everyone. We have no Motion for reconsideration, so I will call for adjournment.
You just adjourn.
Oh, sorry, we'll just adjourn at 7:40 PM.